Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar on measuring the financial capability of persons with disabilities. Before we get started, we would like to go over some housekeeping rules or strategies pieces, and Nakia Matthews will be going through that information. Nakia?
Good afternoon, everyone. The audio for today's webinar is being broadcast through your computer. Please make sure that your speakers are turned on and up. You can control the audio broadcast via the audio broadcast panel, which you see an image of here below. And if you accidentally close this panel or if the sound stops, you can reopen the audio broadcast panel by going to the top menu, Communicate, Join Audio Broadcast. If you do not have sound capabilities on your computer or you prefer to listen by phone, you can dial the number and meeting code you see here, and you do not need to enter an attendee ID. I will also paste this number and meeting code into the chat box. Real-time captioning is provided during this webinar. The captions can be found in the Media Viewer panel, which appears in the lower right corner of the webinar platform. If you'd like to make the Media Viewer panel larger, you can do so by minimizing some of the other platforms like chat, Q&A, or participants. And conversely, if you do not need the captions, you can minimize the Media Viewer. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions, use the Q&A box or the chat box to send questions to Michael Rausch or me, Nakia Matthews, and we will direct those questions accordingly. If you are listening by phone and not logged into the webinar, you may also ask questions by emailing them directly to Michael Rausch at mrausch@ndi-inc.org. Please note this webinar is being recorded and the materials will be placed on the NDI website at realeconomicimpact.org. If you experience any technical difficulties during the webinar, please use the chat box to send a message to me, Nakia Matthews, or you may also email me at nmatthews@ndi-inc.org.
Great. Thank you, Nakia. So thank you again for joining us today for our webinar on measuring the financial capability of persons with disabilities. My name is Michael Rausch, and I'm the Manager of Financial Empowerment and Innovation at the National Disability Institute. Today, I am joined by Paula Kelly, who is the Client and Business Management Executive at U.S. Trust, Bank of America's Private Wealth Management Division, as well as the executive sponsor of the Disability Advocacy Network. I'm also joined by Michael Morris, who is the founder and executive director of the National Disability Institute. Before we get started, I would like to recognize our sponsors. Special thanks to our sponsors, Walmart, Bank of America, Accorda Therapeutics, Burton Blatt Institute, as well as the Internal Revenue Service. I'd like to give a special thanks to Bank of America for sponsoring today's webinar. So for those of you who are new to the National Disability Institute, I would like to share with you information on NDI. The National Disability Institute is a national nonprofit organization dedicated to building a better economic future for Americans with disabilities. We are the first national organization committed exclusively to championing economic empowerment, asset development, and financial stability for all persons across the full spectrum of disabilities. National Disability Institute affects change through public education, training, technical assistance, and policy development to help the 1 in 3 Americans with disabilities living in poverty take steps towards brighter financial futures. To learn more about National Disability Institute, go to www.realeconomicimpact.org. NDI's Real Economic Impact Network is an alliance of organizations and individuals dedicated to advancing the economic empowerment of people with disabilities. The network consists of more than 900 partners in more than 100 cities across the country. The network includes nonprofits, community tax coalitions, asset development organizations, financial education initiatives, corporations, and private sector businesses. Also includes federal, state, local governments and agencies, and individuals and families with disabilities. All partners join forces to embrace, promote, and pursue access and inclusion of people with disabilities in the economic mainstream. If you're not a member of our network, at the end of the presentation, you will find out how you can sign up to join our network. So for today's webinar, our focus is on financial capability and key concepts and strategies surrounding financial capability for persons with disabilities. On today's webinar, we will provide an overview of financial capability. We'll look at what does financial capability mean. Oftentimes we are asked, what is the difference between financial education, financial capability, and financial well-being? And so today we will define each of those. We will also look at National Disability Institute's financial capability indicators for persons with disabilities. The indicators will help us measure how we can measure an individual's financial well-being. We will also look at strategies on how to use the financial capability indicators for persons with disabilities toolkit in community-based learning programs, financial coaching programs, and within the American Job Centers. We will also have Bank of America share tools and initiatives that they have in place to help build the financial capability of persons with disabilities. We will then round it out with questions and answers. Please note that today's webinar will go until 4:15. Due to the amount of content to cover, we want to make sure that there's plenty of time to take your questions. So after today's webinars, we hope that you will have a better understanding of what is financial capability indicators and outcomes for persons with disabilities, the importance of providing opportunities for individuals to improve their financial well-being, and strategies for using the new NDI Financial Capability Indicators for Persons with Disabilities Toolkit. So before we get into the bulk of the presentation, I would like to turn it over to Paula Kelly with Bank of America to provide a brief welcome. Paula?
Thank you, Michael. Again, my name is Paula Kelly, and as Michael said earlier, I'm the Client and Business Management Executive for U.S. Trust, which is a division of Bank of America. And I also have the privilege of serving as executive sponsor of the bank's Disability Advocacy Network, one of our employee resource groups. And finally, I have the privilege of being a board member of NDI. I'd also like to mention my colleague Stephanie Lomi-Bao, who is from our Bank of America Corporate Social Responsibility team. She's here with me today. And together we would like to thank all of you for joining us this afternoon, and to certainly thank NDI for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the bank. Next slide, please. Right,
Great. Thank you, Paula. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Michael Morris, who's the Executive Director and Founder of the National Disability Institute. And Michael is going to provide an overview of financial capability as well as highlight the various indicators that we have identified. Michael?
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Paula, for providing an introduction and a start to our webinar today. Where I want to take us is to, for all of us, provide a brief overview of some of the terms that we are using and are becoming the terms that people are using across the country. National Disability Institute has been around for almost 10 years now, and we have focused on building a roadmap, finding pathways to encourage, support, change thinking, change behavior for people with disabilities and their families nationwide. The term that people are using today more than ever before is the term financial capability. What does that mean? Well, let's try to break that down into several parts. The first is, it is a combination of knowledge and skills to both inform financial decisions and behaviors. So we're learning, and we're not just learning, we're also building a set of skills, which we'll talk about, which is going to impact the kinds of decisions we're making about money, about our finances, and we're going to really use that knowledge and use those skills to change what we do, our actions, our behaviors. A second part is to identify opportunities to improve financial stability. So it's great to have enhanced knowledge and skill, but it's also important to use that knowledge and skill to identify a widening array of opportunities that you may face every day, every week, every month that could be your pathway to improve financial stability and ultimately financial security. And then the third part of the definition for us is really taking this knowledge and skills and using it to manage our financial resources effectively, whether those resources are from the public sector in terms of different types of public benefits, like Social Security or other types of assistance related to health care, housing, food, etc., or it's our private resources that comes from income, money that we're making because we're working. It's how can we use this knowledge and skills to manage our resources more effectively. Next slide. Well, what does all this mean for people with disabilities? Well, everyone, all of us, with or without disabilities, certainly wants to be on a path to greater economic stability and security. But for people with disabilities who may face some more challenges due to extra costs related to health care, extra costs related to maybe use of technology, personal assistance services, or other things maybe related to technology or transportation, we realize that financial capability may have some additional considerations you may need to take into account, some additional knowledge and skills you may need to develop that will then really inform your decision-making, help you better understand what opportunities to move forward on, and what supports you may need to take action. Next slide. We wanted to help you understand really differences between three related concepts. Many of us have, for many years now, been told, well, let's really try to help people at the lower end of the economic ladder with financial education, build their knowledge and skills, okay? But building that knowledge and skills doesn't necessarily move people to new or more positive actions. And this is the movement from financial education to financial capability. But even with those actions, we really, each year and at regular intervals, even more frequently, at least monthly, want to look at what is our financial status? What are the outcomes we are now achieving using that knowledge and skills, taking advantage of opportunities we've identified, building our financial capability, but ultimately reaching a different point in terms of financial status, greater stability, and ultimately greater financial security and financial well-being. Next slide. So what are these key skills and knowledge? Well, it's certainly about money management. It's about understanding what's a budget, how do I put a budget together, how do I balance what I'm spending with what resources I have, the money that's coming in, whether it's a strictly from income from work, or it's a combination of income from work and other types of public benefits. It's also about debt management. Almost every person in our society has debt. Few people are free of debt, but it's really how to manage debt. Debt alone is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a bad thing or it's a problem or a challenge when we don't really manage it. And there is this critical relationship between debt management and credit management. Most people have credit cards. Most people may have a loan, but it's how to manage that resource, which is giving you additional resources through credit, but managing that credit related to income we have, which is part of an overall budgeting process. And for so many people with disabilities, really millions of individuals with disabilities, you're very much mixed into this calculation is the management of public benefits. It may be income related to Social Security. It may be, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, could be other public benefits related to food assistance, housing assistance, health care, transportation. It's putting all of these public benefits together and making them not a barrier to earning more money and putting money aside in savings, understanding the relationship of these critical core elements, core concepts. Another key skill and key knowledge is, who do I talk to for good advice? Who can I trust? Who will help me make informed financial decisions about credit, about managing debt, about the relationship between public and private resources? So who will I go to, and how will I weigh that advice for me to make informed, positive decisions about my financial situation? And then finally, how do I connect to resources, programs, and services, many which are free, no cost, that exist in every community across the country? It's a part of building a resource map in terms of who I can turn to who may be free, or in some cases, really I'm studying whether or not this is an affordable resource, an accessible resource or program that I want to take advantage of. So it's a series of decisions to be made. Next slide. So how do we pull from knowledge and skills development to taking action, moving forward with positive desired behavior? Well, we've broken this down in terms of how financial decisions are based on good information and actions driven by positive financial goals. So the first key term is earning money. For most people with disabilities, many have been told over and over again, it's okay, just live on public benefits. But we all actually know much better. It doesn't have to be an either or. And more people with disabilities are proving that they can make it in the economic mainstream with reduced reliance on public benefits. So earning is a critical set of variables. How many hours do I work a week? How much do I earn? And what am I doing about managing those resources? Takes us to the second term, using money, creating an individual budget to meet my needs, to attain what goals I have, not just for today, not just this week, but looking longer term, this year and longer. Really analyzing and evaluating affordable financial products that I might select from. Using credit wisely. Proactively managing debt. And then moving from using money to saving money. Individuals pay themselves first, a key rule of money management. Setting aside funds for emergencies. My car broke down, or I have an unexpected health care cost. Do I have money set aside to deal with those emergencies? Taking advantage of and identifying opportunities in my community to use match savings programs and other protected savings opportunities to build assets. Protecting money. Really understanding, again, about choices. What are the available insurance options to protect the money I have, reduce my spending, and help me have the ability to earn more? For so many people with disabilities, the really difficult challenge is to project costs related to health care, whether they're regular health care costs or they're sudden health care costs. But this has to be part of the overall set of calculations, and knowledge and skill will be key factors in how well I do. And then finally, understanding money. Individuals build their knowledge of money, connect to trusted entities for advice, and use available resources and supports. Understanding that map of what might be available to me in my community. Understanding beneficial tax provisions, like the Earned Income Tax Credit, the Child Care Tax Credit, and other credits and deductions which I may be eligible for, and other beneficial resources, really making hard decisions about financial products and services where I truly am making informed decisions, evaluating costs, evaluating long-term costs, not just short-term. Next slide. So really trying to bring these pieces together from this brief overview and orientation, National Disability Institute has been working on development of financial capability indicators for people with disabilities that address some of the unique needs and challenges faced by people with disabilities and their families. Our financial capability indicators for people with disabilities toolkit, which will be available soon, will serve as a guide for service providers, financial counselors and coaches, for individuals with disabilities and family members to identify and implement steps an individual can take to meet each indicator and build one's financial well-being. Each indicator will provide action steps to complete outcomes and to really recognize, am I moving forward? Have I reached different key milestones on my personal pathway to better economic stability and security? We want to quickly share with you these 10 indicators. Number 1, set and achieve one or more financial goals. Number 2, improve income production. Number 3, access and manage public benefits and work support programs. It is not an either-or situation. Work or rely on public benefits. There are ways to really manage both to your advantage. Number 4, manage affordable health coverage, a major topic with all the new requirements of the Affordable Care Act and new choices for all of us. Number 5, manage monthly expenses and debt. Number 6, manage credit appropriately, realizing the importance in managing and looking at one's credit score. Number 7, select and manage financial products and services. Number 8, plan and save for the future. Don't just live for today or this week. Number 9, increase financial knowledge and make informed decisions regarding one's financial well-being. And number 10, identify those opportunities that may be in your community or may be available from a state or national level. And really, in talking with friends and other people you trust, connect with trusted sources for advice. 10 key indicators. Many of you know the Americans with Disabilities Act, which came into law in 1990 and then was amended more recently, has a very important statement about opportunity. Our nation's proper goals regarding individuals with disabilities are to assure equality of opportunity, full participation, independent living, and most important, and really what we are focusing on, all the others will not come about without our focused and determined pathways that we develop for ourselves and for our friends and our family members. Economic self-sufficiency. Full participation will not occur. Independent living will not occur truly without us really on a plan for economic self-sufficiency. Next slide. Identifying opportunities for all of us. They're all around us. We're getting better at realizing what's out there. We're helping you find them. These opportunities will be critical to your achieving financial well-being, and similarly identifying opportunities to integrate financial capability into the current disability service delivery system, whether it's the workforce development system, our healthcare system, our vocational rehabilitation system, our education system, just to name a few, is financial capability, knowledge, and skills has got to be about the individual planning that each of those systems requires. Next slide. I now will turn it back to Michael Rausch, who will delve in even more depth about this list of 10 financial capability indicators. Michael?
Great. Thank you, Michael. As we look at each indicator further, we'd like to break these down a bit more, and we want to give examples of opportunities for each, as well as look at some positive outcomes. I would like to make the note that as we look at the opportunities, that there are additional opportunities for each, and due to the time limit of our webinar today, we won't be able to go into all of them, but each of them will be broken down in more detail in the toolkit that Michael referenced. So to get us started, the first indicator is set and achieve one or more financial goals. And looking at this indicator, it's looking at the importance of an individual goals and how they are the cornerstone of financial counseling and coaching to motivate an individual to improve their financial skills, their knowledge, their actions, and align with the person-centered culture of the disability community. The opportunity here is to include financial goals in individuals' plans for transitioning out of school, transitioning out of foster care, securing and maintaining employment, as well as independent living. And as we look at the positive outcome of this particular indicator and how we would measure it, is that the positive outcome is that the individual has changed their financial habits to achieve their identified financial goal. This is an important indicator because this indicator allows individuals to build on the other indicators to build their financial well-being. Improving income production. Employment is given for many subsets of the population. Unfortunately, significant barriers to employment and to working to one's full potential still exist for individuals with disabilities. The opportunity here for an individual is to utilize individual budgets and financial goals to ensure financial needs are met by earned income. It's also important for individuals to access employment-related supports, including the American Job Centers and or vocational rehabilitation, to enhance one's employment status to help improve their income production. The positive outcome here is that an individual has increased their hours at work and that their earned income meets their monthly expenses, but also that they have additional income to be able to pay themselves first. The third indicator is access and manage public benefits and work support programs. The use of public benefits can create a safety net for individuals with disabilities, and it's important to understand public benefit rules as well as utilize various work incentives that allow an individual to increase their earnings as well as and saving money while maintaining one or more of their public benefit. The opportunity here is for job seekers and workers to connect with benefit planners to ensure that they're maximizing the use of the work incentives. The positive outcome here in measuring this particular indicator is that the individual's total income has increased through the use of various work incentives. As Michael had mentioned about the Affordable Care Act, it's really important that we look at this indicator and looking at how to manage affordable health coverage. And looking at this, for individuals with disabilities, access to health care can be critical to maintaining one's financial capability. And this also provides protection against medical debt, which can wreak havoc on an individual's finances. The opportunity here is for to identify or to help support an individual in making informed decisions on the Affordable Care Act marketplace, the choices available, and the benefits of blending public and private health care coverage for individuals. How we measure this or look at the positive outcome of this indicator is that the individual has increased access to care while reducing deductibles and potential for medical debt. The next indicator is managing monthly expenses and debts. 3 in 5 people with disabilities said that they are either struggling to get by and going further into debt each month, or they're living paycheck to paycheck, versus only 34% of people without disabilities. Managing monthly expenses and debt allows an individual to identify their current expenses and debt and develop a plan for meeting those costs monthly, including possibly connecting to debt management programs and services. The opportunity here is for individuals to include information and tools on how to manage a monthly expenses and pay down debts as part of their personal budget. The outcome here is that an individual uses a spending diary to track spending behavior on a regular basis and creates a monthly budget that meets their needs and goals, and that they follow that monthly budget. Managing credit appropriately is the next indicator, and good credit is an asset, so maintaining positive credit is an important indicator in measuring one's financial capability. Credit has become an indicator of responsibility in the workplace, in rental housing, and in the loan market. Many individuals with disabilities are discouraged from engaging in credit opportunities for fear of predatory practices. So as we look at the opportunities to support this indicator, it's really important that to connect individuals to programs that report rent payments to credit bureaus to help establish credit. The outcome here, the positive outcome, is that an individual has established a credit score. They've improved their employment status and their living options based on improving their credit score. The next indicator is select and manage financial products and services. An estimated 80% of people with disabilities are unbanked and or underbanked, which is putting them at risk of predatory services to participate within the financial marketplace. Banks, credit unions, and prepaid card services offer a range of affordable financial services to meet the needs of people at all income levels. So the opportunity here is looking at the receipt of earnings or public benefits to prompt review of banking and prepaid card services to choose the most affordable financial service that is appropriate for them. The positive outcome here is that individuals save money by avoiding payday loan services and overdraft fees that they may have received. The next indicator is plan and save for the future. Individuals on public benefits are often discouraged from participating in savings opportunities for fear of loss of current or future eligibility of various public benefit programs. A range of mainstream and protected savings opportunities exist. These opportunities provide savings for all individuals regardless of their benefit status to save for the future. Some of those protected savings opportunities or the mainstream savings opportunities would be looking at a pooled trust, an individual development account are just two examples. The opportunity here is that looking at the individual, that employment and independent living plans and services include an expectation that individuals will save for their future needs. And looking at the positive outcome here for this particular indicator is that an individual participates in a 401k program, plan, or a pooled trust, and that they are saving a minimum of 3% of their monthly income for the future. An important indicator also is increasing financial knowledge and the ability to make informed decisions regarding one's financial well-being. So many people with disabilities have never managed a budget, they've never opened a savings account or a checking account. And like all Americans, a lack of financial literacy creates knowledge barriers to accessing these services. The opportunity here is knowledge transfer. The opportunity here is that financial education become a required component of transition services. The positive outcome here is that individual completes a financial education class to improve their ability to make financial decisions. The last indicator here is identify and connect with trusted sources for advice. A national study of individuals with MS found that over 26% cited no source for financial information. Another third reported family members as their source, and a minority, 11%, used financial planners. The opportunity here is it's important to look at circles of support and other tools used to identify formal and informal supports to include who to turn to when we need financial information. The positive outcome here would be when the individual meets with a financial counselor to overcome barriers identified in achieving individuals' financial goals. So now that we've shared this information, how do we get more information on this? Well, you can download National Disability Institute's Financial Capability Indicators for Persons with Disabilities Toolkit to review each of the indicators and the accompanying action steps and checklists that individuals can use to help build their financial capability. You can access the toolkit at www.realeconomicimpact.org/financial capability. An additional tool that we've created is the Financial Wellbeing Assessment. As we help an individual build their financial well-being, we've provided them financial education and knowledge transfer, which leads to the action, financial capability, and then, of course, leads to financial well-being. Well, one of the important pieces is how do we evaluate the individual's financial well-being? So we've created this financial well-being assessment, and we built it upon CFPB's financial health assessment as well. So the financial health or financial well-being assessment will help you evaluate the financial well-being of persons with disabilities. It's important to have individuals complete the assessment. The financial well-being assessment helps identify what the individual is doing successfully, what they need to improve on, and areas where assistance in meeting one or more indicators is needed. Some of the sample questions on the financial well-being assessment are, what are some of your financial goals? It's important, again, that individuals identify what their financial goals are. Do you have a regular and reliable source of income? Do you receive public benefits? If you are receiving Social Security benefits, have you met with a community work incentive coordinator or a benefits planner in the past to discuss your benefits? And if you are receiving Social Security benefits, have you had a benefit summary and analysis completed? Please note that the assessment has multiple questions on it, and the financial well-being assessment will be included or is included in the Financial Capability Toolkit for persons with disabilities. So once you download the toolkit and you look at all of the information that's in it, you might be wondering, how do I use the toolkit? Well, there's a variety of ways that you can use it. The information in the toolkit, or looking at the indicators in the financial well-being assessment, can be implemented into community-based learning programs, can be used in financial coaching programs, it can be used in Ticket to Work programs, as well as it can be used at within the American Job Centers. The key thing of looking at the financial well-being assessment is that this assessment tool could also be used in the intake process for each program that you are offering. And once an individual has completed the assessment, then you can use the toolkit, the checklist that's included, as well as looking at each of the indicators, the opportunities, as well as the action steps to be able to positively achieve each indicator, to be able to help the individual build their financial well-being. The toolkit could serve as a tool. It could serve as a checklist for individuals to use as they go through your program. There's a wide range of activities or ways that the toolkit can be used in a variety of settings. So with that, now that we've covered the financial capability indicators, we've looked at the financial well-being assessment, what I'd like to do now is I'd like to turn it back over to Paula Kelly to share some additional information on additional tools that Bank of America has to help build the financial capabilities of individuals. Paula?
Thank you, Michael. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to take a few words at the beginning to really stress how important the partnership Bank of America has with NDI is. We've been a longtime supporter of NDI, and through our support, NDI and all of their partners have been able to achieve those particular successes that you see on the screen. In addition, we've created innovative programs to assist students and adults with disabilities, to expand financial knowledge, to enhance their employment status, and enter the financial mainstream. Bank of America has supported NDI's Building Economic Strength program that introduced students with disabilities, family members, service professionals, and veterans with disabilities to community resources and tools that enhance their financial knowledge and capabilities. And finally, Bank of America and NDI together have taken the lessons from that Building Economic Strength program and created an alliance, which is really peer-to-peer mentoring program for college students with disabilities. And the first alliance was launched in 2013 at the University of North Florida, with plans to expand that to other campuses. Next slide, please. Bank of America has several employee resource groups, and these employee resource groups are truly a vital part of the company's diversity and inclusion efforts. One of the networks is the Disability Advocacy Network, or DAN as we call it. DAN is another employee network, a formal bank-supported group made up of employees who share a dimension of diversity along with their allies. So DAN, as in all of our other employee resource groups, is open to any of our employees, whether or not they have a disability. They simply need to have an interest in disabilities and furthering our mission. DAN's mission is to advocate on behalf of our employees, our customers, and community members impacted by disabilities. It's a great source of disability-related information for our employees, partners, and partners with our Bank of America volunteers to volunteer in our communities. And particularly, DAN is committed to creating opportunities for professional development and advancement for our employees with disabilities, as well as people in the community with disabilities. Next slide, please. In 2013, NDI and Bank of America DAN members joined forces to increase awareness on financial wellness for persons with disabilities through two opportunities. The first was financial education training, and the second was disability awareness training. DAN members and NDI delivered financial education tailored to our employees who have intellectual disabilities, as well as disability awareness to many other of our employee groups. And together, DAN members and NDI have delivered the same training to our community partners. Next slide, please. As we know, April is Financial Capability Month. This month was formally called Financial Education or Financial Literacy Month. And these terms are not just semantics. As we've talked about today so much, financial capability should be our focus. And I'm pleased that NDI is emphasizing capabilities. But as we think about it again, and both Michael Rausch and Michael Morris explained, what really are capabilities? What are financial capabilities? And as they said, capabilities are really turning ideas, knowledge, skills into actions. And at Bank of America, we know that financial education is important, but we also know that having strong financial literacy may not lead to success managing our finances. Learning to save 10% of our income is not the same as actually saving 10% of our income. This is an action. Capability is the act of putting our knowledge into practice, saving that 10%. Positive financial management behaviors will help us all achieve our financial goals, and our bank wants to help consumers manage their financial lives. And simply put, we call this Better Money Habits. We have a tool called Better Money Habits that's available online to anyone. It has several easy-to-understand components on budgeting, saving, using credit. All of these components align perfectly with NDI's financial capability indicators that we've talked about earlier today in the call. Next slide, please. You'll see that this tool provides free access to easy-to-understand videos, practical tips and tools to build better money habits. Examples would be paying your bills on time, how to read your statements, preparing for a mortgage, changing your habits that have to do with savings, budgeting, understanding, and using credit. Same habits that Michael talked about earlier. So at Bank of America, we're connecting all of our resources to help people develop better money habits. Our employees go out and teach better money habits in our communities. Our bank leaders participate in thought leadership programs to help highlight the need for better money habits. And our Bank of America Foundation awards grants to organizations that help their constituents meet their financial goals. Bank of America's investment and partnership with National Disability is a clear demonstration of our strategy. The latest headlines are about how Americans are not saving enough for retirement or even emergencies. Driving better money habits is our common goal to change this. So on behalf of Bank of America, I thank NDI and all of you on the webinar today for your concern and your hard work to help people with disabilities develop better money habits. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Paula, and thank you for sharing that information with us. What we'd like to do now is we'd like to open up for questions. So if you'd like to ask a question, you can send it in via email, or you could ask it in the chat box or in the Q&A box. So we have some questions here. So the first question, Michael, if you could answer this question, do we need to follow the indicators in a specific order?
It's a good question, and I think some logically will follow from others. I think that there really are, and this is my own opinion, I think there are really two starting points. One is a person who is in a very unstable financial situation, some degree of crisis. The question has to be really, how am I going to stabilize? That may be issues related to credit, debt, money management, but that may sort of create a different set of priorities than a person, let's say, who's not in crisis, but there I think the more logical starting point is, what's a goal for me to set? A goal isn't just simply that I'm going to spend less than the amount of money or income I am taking in, whether it's through work or it's through a combination of work and public benefits. It's really about looking longer term and really beginning to set some goals for the future. Even if one sets one goal, and that goal may relate to debt reduction, or that goal may relate to maybe a person with a disability who has no credit score at all. So it's not a question of improving credit score, it's about establishing a credit score. And there are numerous ways that are kind of more non-traditional ways to get a credit score established. For someone else, it may be that they're putting no money away, and there are numerous people, and in fact the research shows many people work for employers with retirement savings plans who don't participate, and as a result are literally not taking advantage that their employer will match a percentage of what money they set aside from their paycheck. For someone else who doesn't have an employer that's participating in some type of employer match savings program, it's to look at your own options. And this is back to identifying opportunities. So I don't, maybe a long answer, but number one, there is not a sequence, but number two is each person has a different set of circumstances, and I think there will be a logical order that will follow from where am I? Am I in some type of crisis? One set of rules. If I'm not in a crisis, let's start with really looking at a brighter economic future and longer term in terms of setting some goals.
Great. Thank you, Michael. The next question is for Paula. What sample topics does Better Money Habits cover?
It covers how to set up a budget. It covers how to save. It also talks about using credit, understanding as well as using credit. And another topic that's really so critical to anyone in today's environment is how to keep your financial information safe. So those are examples.
Great. Paula, there's another question here about Better Money Habits. Is Better Money Habits accessible?
Stephanie?
Yes, Better Money Habits is accessible to the public at www.bettermoneyhabits.com, and I did verify that it is equipped with capabilities for the hearing impaired. So and it's also now captioned bilingually as well. So there's English captions as well as Spanish captions.
Great, thank you. All right, the next question is, as we talked, there was a section, this question is regarding the Manage Credit Appropriately indicator. How do we identify the best debt management company? Michael or Paula? Who would like to answer that?
Well, I think, again, the best company is similar to establishing what priority in terms of these indicators or goals. I don't know that there's a best for everyone. I think this is, again, goes to our indicator about really building a circle of people who can offer you trusted advice. And again, the opportunity that presents itself is, again, talking with people you trust, maybe family members. It may be people that you work with. A growing number of employers are offering programs that help provide assistance in managing money, creating investments, reducing debt, managing credit. So there may be a number of places, both through your employer, in your own community. What I would be weary of are programs that advertise that there is no charge for you to come in and sit down with them, but is going to charge you based on debt reduction, or is going to charge you based on their ability to consolidate debt. So I think there are numerous nonprofit organizations that can help you with these critical money management issues, and I think that you can learn from people you trust, and you may in fact find free resources through your own employer. I don't know, Paula, if you might add to that.
I think you covered it, absolutely.
Great. All right, thank you. The next question is asking about connecting with leaders, bank leaders who are available to do presentations for organizations and or their consumers. So Paula, would you like to answer that about, explain a little bit more about the DAN opportunity?
Of course. And it's not just the Disability Advocacy Network, it's all of our Bank of America community volunteers and leaders and our organization coast to coast. We have a huge focus on financial education, and I think the best approach would be for anyone who's interested, who's on this call, who would like to arrange for financial education for one of their constituents, to maybe coordinate through NDI, and that way I can field it for the rest of the company. But clearly it's something that we'd be happy to do. We do all the time with our volunteer network providing financial education.
Great.
Michael, let me add one thing, and this is something particularly for organizations who are on this call that work with and support people with disabilities. I think that what we haven't done, and I know we're going to be working on with Centers for Independent Living in multiple communities based on one of the funded projects we have, and that is really trying to create a resource map, a map that would show what are free or low-cost resources that are available in my community for financial education, for individual counseling or coaching, for credit counseling. The opportunities that Paula talked about where there are a lot of resources, but right now I don't know that we've created the kind of map at a community level. And I hope on one of our future webinars we might focus on developing that community or resource map, which of course would need to be regularly updated at least every quarter or twice a year, because new resources come along and other ones may terminate or end for some reason. But I think that what we're beginning to see is that there are a lot of opportunities, but we need to make it easier for both organizations and individuals with disabilities, make it easier for them to identify them and access them.
Great. Thank you, Michael. The next question is, Stephanie, I think this question might be something for you. Where do we find information about the grants that are available? That was mentioned earlier.
Sure. So all of the information on the bank's philanthropic efforts can be found at www.bankofamerica.com/foundation. Just to set a little bit of context around what our philanthropic priorities are and how it connects to Better Money Habits and our longtime support of National Disability Institute, the bank really looks at these three core areas that create economic stability and empowerment for the communities that our employees live in and serve. That would be housing, jobs, and basic human services. Better Money Habits is our commitment to not only providing our expertise in the community, but also our innovative way of looking at incremental behavioral changes that will improve the financial well-being of our clients and customers and communities we serve. So we can see Better Money Habits in the housing space, the job space, and the access to basic human services. Michael, as a follow-up, I'll send you a two-pager, and if NDI so chooses, feel free to share with the participants. But we're really proud of our partnership with National Disability Institute, as Paula had mentioned, because it really does address how financial capabilities is a critical factor as we look at making a difference in economic stability and economic empowerment.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. So the next question is, what is the Social Security Benefits Summary and Analysis? Michael, would you like to answer that, or would you like me to answer that question?
I was going to turn that over to Elizabeth to answer,
okay,
sitting next to me.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. So the Social Security Administration funds community-based projects called Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Programs, and these are funded by Social Security to provide free information to individuals with disabilities on their Social Security benefits and other benefits that they receive to support them as they're working and seeking to report their wages and claim the work incentives that can have a deep impact on some of their aspects of financial capability, including their ability to increase their income. Some work incentives improve a person's ability to save money. And if used correctly, some of the work incentives can help with some of the things you may be supporting a person to do, including tracking spending and maintaining a budget. When a person meets with a work incentive planning and assistance project, they meet with what's called a CWIC, a Community Work Incentive Coordinator, and the product that CWIC provides an individual, the summary of their meeting, their time together, what they learned about the individual and what kind of things the individual needs to move forward, is called the benefit summary and analysis.
Great. Thank you, Elizabeth. The next question is, how can you help staff that have their own money issues focus on financial stability see this as a goal? Michael, would you like to answer that?
Sure. You know, I think one of the things that's been interesting over the almost 10 years of the work of National Disability Institute is that although our focus has been on individuals with disabilities and family members, so often what we've found is the staff that have learned about what our work is have said, well, wait a minute, that's an issue, that's a challenge for me too. And what we've learned with our helping people access the Earned Income Tax Credit and other beneficial tax provisions, that many staff are eligible for those tax credits and deductions. So it actually is, I think the motivation comes from a broader set of interests. We're not narrowly concerned just about the person with a disability. What we're really concerned is about communities, and communities that are inclusive, communities that consider the relationship between the public and private sector, between businesses and employers and their employees, between government and community nonprofits. And so within so many of the organizations that play a role in supporting with people with disabilities, we feel this set of subjects, this set of topics around financial capability is really a natural priority. And it's a priority that's going to help both the consumer of service, but it's also going to help that frontline, direct line staff, and frankly, working together with bringing in, as Paula and Stephanie have shared, bringing in staff from banks and financial institutions who can speak on these topics, really trying to build everyone's knowledge and skill levels. And as Paula really nicely shared, it's to move from knowledge and skill to action. And so I think that this set of topics, certainly around people trying to find their pathway to better economic stability and ultimately economic security, really should resonate with a larger group of people. And the work of the organizations that are on this call should be inclusive. Staff with people with disabilities makes all the sense in the world.
Great. Thank you, Michael. So I think we'll take one more question, and then we are going to be out of time. And so the next question will be for Paula or Stephanie. And the question is, are there any specific opportunities at Bank of America for its clients with disabilities?
Hi, this is Paula. I'll start with the answer. And so there are several dimensions to opportunities, so I'll cover a few of those. First of all, in terms of employment, we have within our organization a group called Support Services. It's a group of 300 plus employees who have intellectual disabilities. All of our job postings for any job across the bank are also immediately, as soon as they're posted, immediately get sent to disability resource and veterans websites for job posting as well. We are very adamant that all of our products and services need to be delivered to any client regardless of disability. So whether it's a hearing or sight or physical disability, we have those accommodations. It could be an ATM that you can get hearing assistance at. And also for our employees with disabilities, we have productivity tools. So I'm hoping I covered what the question meant with opportunities, but if not, please ask again.
Great. Thank you, Paula. Also, I'd just like to share that for those of you that asked the question or are interested in being connected with DAN members or other groups, associates of Bank of America, to provide financial education or disability awareness, please send an email to me at mroush@ndi-inc.org, and then we can coordinate those activities with Bank of America. With that, I would like to say thank you to Paula Kelly for joining us today and for sharing information on the work that Bank of America is doing. I'd also like to thank Stephanie for joining us, and thank you for your continued support of the work here at the National Disability Institute. We greatly appreciate it. I would like to remind everyone that our next webinar will be on May 14th from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's going to be on the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. And so if you're not familiar with the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, I hope that you will join us to learn about this program through HUD. We'll also be sharing some best practices, as well as you will hear from other organizations who have had success in persons with disabilities accessing the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, but also how they've used their housing voucher that has helped them to lead them into owning their own home. So we hope that you will join us Wednesday, May 14th from 3 to 4 p.m. Before we close out, I'd like to thank again our sponsors, Walmart, Bank of America, Accorda Therapeutics, Burton Blatt Institute, and the Internal Revenue Service. And I hope that you will be following us on social media. You can catch us at Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Flickr, Tumblr, and of course our website. So what I'd like to do, Michael, I'll turn it over to you to give final comments as we close out.
Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Stephanie. I think this has been a jam-packed a little more than an hour in terms of information. I think what I'm most excited about is that you have joined us from almost every state in the country, and you represent the growing diverse types of groups that have become a part of the Real Economic Impact Network, both government agencies and nonprofit organizations. An increasing number of financial institutions, we noticed, joined us today, and many types of groups that are really focused on advancing financial capability for all people, including people with disabilities. So thank you, Michael, for helping us bring this webinar together, and let me thank the full training and technical assistance team at National Disability Institute. I hope you'll be with us in May, and please do pass the word along for other groups and other people you know to become a part of this growing network, really focused on advancing a better economic future for people with disabilities and their families. Thank you so much.